Right, so if this is the area that I cut last year, and this is natural regeneration, these are little ash trees. See him? It's probably a year old. They're all coming up. Some have been nibbled off, like this one. If you contrast this area here, oops, with this area in here, do you see a difference? This has been protected against deer browsing for 2 growing seasons. And you can see the height of some of these. So they've got browsed there, and that's put that much on. So these have got away quite nicely. This one's looking rather poorly. Is that ash dieback? And that, don't know. Used to seeing ash dieback affected trees with leaves on. This is one similar, and this one, and this one, and this one. But there's a lot of ash regen, basically because there's a big mother tree there. So lots and lots of seed source. And this is the hazel regeneration. You can see that, that's up 10 foot. No problem. It's the wrong time of year to look at ground flora. There's a St John's wort there. It's absent from the other cants. Bramble's starting to come in, which is a bit of a pest for walking through. But you've got a lot of ranunculus, celandine, another St John's wort over there, and yeah, it's altogether more luxuriant. Bramble in here hasn't been grazed, so it's grown big. You can see where it's grown big in a gap. And you can see how this coppice looks. And you can see that the coppice canopy, like the sub-canopy of the woodland, is now starting to close over, at least where the stalls are more closely together. And the bramble is starting to decline. Lots of dead stems, and the live stems are smaller. So in another 2 years, hopefully, there won't be very much bramble left, and this will be much easier to cut. Whereas here, underneath the canopy of this ash canopy is much lighter. We've got a big lump of bramble. And there's evidence of deer browsing all the way through. You can see there. And there. And all the way around the outside of this big lump of bramble, it's been chewed off. So what I'm going to do now is going to whiz around the outside. Try and take you with me on the trip and see what the dead hedges are doing. They were deliberately let in here by the people who did this. I was one of them. But this was done at year 3 on the grounds that the deer need somewhere to go and that they would eat the bramble, which they have. But you can see on here, the deer population in here is so enormous that browsing and bark and antler stripping damages the stalls. So most of the stems on here are not worth recutting. A bit mimsy anyway because they're under this shade. But the deer damage has just exacerbated the issue with the shade. And on this one, the same. Every stem that you cut that you can't use reduces your efficiency of cutting. And to make enough money to survive, especially if you're bringing up a family in this day and age, you have to be efficient. And the coppice that you cut has got to be in as good a condition as you can possibly find. See all the damage? through there on the left and through there. I reckon a third of the stems on this particular little patch have been damaged. So that's immediately reduced your efficiency by a third, because you have to cut that off, and then that might make a skinny 6-foot bean rod. And has therefore reduced the saleability of this as a standing crop. So letting your deer in prematurely is not a good idea. They will also have hit the ground flora and natural tree regeneration. That is inevitable. If there are so many deer that they're causing this kind of damage, these are sycamore by the way, then they will be browsing and they will eat everything that they can get their little jaws around, which isn't poisonous to them. Look there, that's a bluebell. They're getting hungry. Something's eaten that. If that's deer, that's a sign that they're really pushed. Velveting on that little one. Do you get what I'm trying to show you here? More damage on all of these ones, look. This is a willow. And that's a sycamore. So they don't, inverted commas, matter. It's the hazel that's your cash crop. But if you discount the damage that the deer have wreaked, then these stalls, and this density of stalls, is pretty good. It's not grade 1, but it's getting up there. And you can see the size of some of these stalls. Rather nice. So, deer browsing. Does it matter? Please feel free to comment. Oh yeah, I think I forgot to mention, this is 6 years since it was cut, so 6 growing seasons. And the reason all this material is let down like this is there was grant aid successfully applied for this with the old woodland grant scheme, which paid for the fence, which is a very nice fence, and woodland grant scheme came to an end, so there was a limit put on time, so this had to be cut and dropped, so none of this material was worked up, and in a year's time, year 7, this will be ready to cut, and a lot of these big windrows will still be here, which again will reduce the efficiency of working this up, making it again less likely it's going to be sold as a standing crop. But the grant aid allowed for this fence, which should last, because it's sweet chestnut stakes posts, that should last for at least 3 cycles, so hopefully next cycle it should be better. Any of you remember this little oak seedling? I did a post on him 2 years ago, I think it was, basically pointing out the issues of deer browsing and natural regeneration of oaks. But since I did that post, poor little thing's still surviving, but he's basically stood still. At the time he was a little bit taller, no fatter around, but the deer have just been hammering him every time he's put out a new shoot. So I'm an oak seedling. Will I survive to make a seedling, sapling, waiver or a standard? Well, the answer, things are as they are at the moment, is no. Seedling regeneration of oak from natural regeneration is very rare anyway. But if the deer are eating everything that actually starts to come up, you'll never get trees like this or this. You would have to plant. And I'm afraid I don't believe that our ancestors did much planting. They might have dibbed in a few acorns, that something has to be done to secure the future of coppice with standards, if coppice with standards is what you're actually trying to achieve. So either the deer have to be controlled, culled, and the population brought down to a low and sustainable level. At the moment I would argue that because of disease, starvation and other issues, the population level is not sustainable. Or you have to pay for fencing, and coppice does not produce enough finance, enough income for owners to be able to pay for fencing unless it is subsidised by another operation. The amount of grant aid that's available is woeful. It's terribly difficult to get hold of, and what you do get is no way sufficient for actually doing the job of fencing. And this is what happens if deer browse a stall for 5 years. This isn't even an e-hole. This is on the way out. This is going to die. Same with these ones. This one's got away because there's been brash stacked around it. It's grown through the brash, but it's been chomped and attacked. This one's the same, and yeah, this is pretty despondent making. Believe it or not, I didn't set out to make a video about deer browsing. I'm just going to show you dead hedges as they decay naturally, like this one. Oh well.